Welcome to Learning English for Academic and Professional Purposes, or the LEAP Intensive English program at Wright State University. We hope you enjoy this short instructional video.
Hello, my name is Tom Fenton. In today's video, we're going to be taking a close look at the first task in the writing section of the TOEFL. Today we're going to be doing two things. First of all, we're going to be looking at the structure of this task, and then we're going to be looking at some steps you'll need to take in order to build an effective response. As we talked about in the last video, there are 4 different categories that writers are going to be looking at when they are assessing this task. And for today, we're really focusing on those first 2 categories, which is how you address the topic and how you develop your response. And again, you only have 20 minutes to put this all together. The structure of task 1. There are basically 3 parts to task 1 writing. The first part is reading, the second part is listening, and the third part is writing. For reading, you'll be given a short passage and 3 minutes to scan through it. Then comes the important part, the listening passage. The listening passage will then be followed by writing, in which you will be asked to summarize the listening passage and make a connection with the listening to the reading. And that's the critical part. The listening passage will connect to the reading passage in one of 3 ways. The first way is casting doubt. This is where the listening passage will disagree with information presented in the reading passage. The second way that a listening can connect to a reading is by solving a problem. That is, the listening passage will solve a problem, provide a solution, or give some information about some kind of problem or situation that's presented in the reading. The final way that a listening passage can connect to a reading is by strengthening, supporting, or providing further information about a topic that's presented in the reading. Building a response. Now it's time to start thinking about the steps we need to take in order to build an effective response to this task. The first thing, of course, is with the listening. Now, the reading, you get the main idea, and that'll usually come in the first paragraph, but it's the listening that's the critical part. And establishing or identifying the main idea of the listening. Is it disagreeing with the reading? Is it solving some problems that were presented? Or is it giving more information or supporting it? The second part is you will need to identify at least 2 or 3 points that are presented in the listening passage. TOEFL is usually very consistent, and these listening passages will give often 3 very clear points. The final step before you begin your response is to be very clear about what the listening passage is doing with or against or for the reading passage. Let's take a look at a quick example. Our example reading passage is on the topic of science, and it's entitled The Giant Impact Hypothesis. Many of the TOEFL reading passages in Task 1 will be on academic subjects that you might not be familiar with, and that's okay. The whole point is for you to be able to just get the general main idea. And this seems to be a passage about how the moon was formed. And there are lots of information and details, but it's just important at this point to realize that this passage is explaining how it seems like a giant object hit the earth, and then the debris or the material that was thrown up from that and eventually created what we now call the moon. Let's move on to the listening passage.
One of the theories that tries to explain the formation of the Earth's moon is called the Giant Impact Hypothesis, or the Big Splash. The theory is that a huge object called Theia crashed into the Earth, and the debris from the impact eventually formed the moon. While this is a popular theory among many scientists, there are many questions that it doesn't answer. For one, most models of the impact show us that more than 60% of the moon should be made up of materials from Theia. However, samples collected from the Apollo space missions to the moon suggest that this is not the case. A second challenge to the hypothesis is that the force of the impact would have been so great that it would have created a global lava ocean. But there is no geological evidence to support this. Surely there would be some indication on the Earth's surface of such a huge collision. Finally, if the moon were formed by such an impact, then why are there no other moons like it? Venus would likely have been the target of similar-sized objects, But Venus doesn't have a moon, despite there being a lot of evidence of these types of impacts occurring throughout the solar system.
Okay, so hopefully what you were able to get from the listening was, first of all, what kind of connection that the lecture has to the reading, and also how that was supported with 3 points. And there were indeed 3 points. Let's listen again to a part of the lecture.
While this is a popular theory among many scientists, there are many questions that it doesn't answer.
As you can hear clearly, there are many questions that it doesn't answer. And this is a case of a connection of disagreement. The speaker is disagreeing with this theory of giant impact. And there are 3 points that the listener discusses. Let's listen again.
For one, most models of the impact show us that more than 60% of the moon should be made up of materials from Theia. A second challenge to the hypothesis is that the force of the impact would have been so great that it would have created a global lava ocean. Finally, if the moon were formed by such an impact, then why are there no other moons like it?
Okay, so those are the 3 points. The first one being that the moon should be made up of more materials from this object, Theia. The second is that the impact should have created some kind of evidence on Earth. And finally, there should be other moons like it in the solar system. At this point, we have everything we need to begin our response. My recommendation to you is every time you begin a task 1 response, use the same 3 words, the listening passage. And then you can describe that connection. In this case, disagrees with the reading passage. After that, it's just a matter of summarizing those 3 points that the speaker makes that disagree with the reading passage. I hope this information is useful for you in your preparation for Task 1 writing, and I look forward to seeing you again soon.
We hope you have enjoyed this short instructional video. For more information on the LEAP Intensive English program, check out the links in the description. You can visit our website, check us out on social media, or email us at leapadmissions@wright.edu.